Hello, BookTube, and welcome to ShakeTube 2017. This is, for those of you who might be new, this is an informal read-along of 15 or so Shakespeare plays that is being conducted by Curtis Books and Films and Lukash over at his channel, where we read a Shakespeare play every week, and then on Friday or Saturday, the weekend, whatever, we make a video talking about it. And it's got a great group of people weighing in, reading a lot of times, often reading these plays for the first time and discussing them. And our play this time around is Richard II. But I wanted, before I gasbag a little about Richard II myself, I wanted to make sure that those of you who might be coming to ShakeTube, maybe it's being suggested to you by a YouTube algorithm and you didn't know what it was. I want to suggest that those of you who are coming late to the party can jump right in. Because this isn't a normal kind of read-along. All you really have to do is just pull down the play, read it, and then make a video about your thoughts on it. So if you've been watching ShakeTube and have been hesitating to join in, by all means do. And if you're just now encountering it, give it a try. We've got a lot of great plays coming up. And the play this time around, Richard II, I don't think anyone would characterize as a great play. It's a beautiful play. It's written entirely in verse, and that, to a limited extent, explains its rarity at a theater near you, your local community theater group. You know, with the school teachers and the plumbers and the selectmen doubling in their roles for Shakespeare plays. They're good, and I love local theater, but this is a tough play to handle. Curtis, in his video, says he wouldn't want to learn all the lines of Richard II. And it's not just the amount of them either. When you look at them, you realize it's not just the amount of lines, it's the staggering beauty of the staggeringly complex beauty of the verse that you have to say. And even when you do see it on stage, or read it, I'm sure that the consensus on ShakeTube this time around will come entirely from reading, and I'm sure that the consensus will be that this is a very lovely play to read. In fact, rereading it for ShakeTube, I was once again prompted to read huge chunks of it out loud, which is not. I don't feel that way with every Shakespeare play. With this one, you'd have to be made of stone not to want to read some of these words out loud. I'm sure that the consensus will be that it's a beautiful play to read, but that not much happens. It doesn't really affect you that much. I don't quite agree with that. There are little parts. There's a definite tone throughout of bloodlessness, almost as if Shakespeare was distracted by the virtuoso performance of creating the verse and forgot his own number one strength as a dramatist, which is to ground things in the human. But I don't 100% agree with it, because I have seen this play done with wrenching humanity, just so that you're just quivering by the time you leave at the end of the evening. Because Richard is a frustratingly wonderful figure throughout the play. He's a terrible king. He's whimsical and mood-driven, and he doesn't understand the mechanisms of his own job, and he doesn't take his power source seriously, and he doesn't take seriously the thoughts, aspirations, or angers of any of the powerful people around him. And at the end of that description, I'm going to exercise self-control and make no contemporary parallels with American politics. Just not going to do it. But in addition to all of those failures as a king, Richard is also a fascinating figure. He's a deep, sometimes ironical thinker. He's a very good navel gazer, but he makes it interesting for you too. And in the end, I might add, he's physically courageous. At the very end, he's physically courageous, which is might be a trivial detail that 21st century readers would pass right over, but for Shakespeare and for his audience, it meant a lot. A lot of this play comes down to the magic of performance on the stage. For that reason, because the lyricism, when you read it in your head or out loud in your room to your cat, does have a slightly chilling effect on the drama. And you can tell the presiding genius of ShakeTube 2017 is Harold Bloom, whose enormous book Shakespeare: The Invention of the Human is something that Lukács chose to hang around all our necks like a bloated albatross. And you can tell that what I'm saying is true from Bloom's own reaction to the play, which is he quotes at one point the beautiful scene where the play deals with the disastrous reign of Richard II, in which he is deposed he loses his throne from his own obliviousness and eventually loses his own life. And when he is being deposed and exiled, he's told that he's not going to share his exile with his queen. And she's told the same thing. And there's a scene where they're talking with the usurper and with the crew, and as they're parting scene, and it's lovely. They have exchanged hearts. They have exchanged hearts with each other, and now they have to stop that because they're leaving. They're not going to see each other again. And the queen says about her heart, "Give me mine own again. 'Twere no good part to take on me to keep and kill thy heart. So now I have my own again. Begone, that I may strive to kill it with a groan." And you can, I mean, the words, you can hear that they're not letting go of each other, that they have to, but they can't. And Richard actually says, in response to that, "We make woe wanton with this fond delay. Sorry, once more adieu, the rest let sorrow say." It just, a sharp knife cuts the quickest and hurts the least. Just let's just say goodbye. That's heartbreaking. It's beautiful and it's metrically perfect, but it's heartbreaking. And in response, Harold Bloom has this to say: "That is a formal grace, and these ceremonial phrases can be read as a language of reserve and high dignity that the royal couple share. There is also a consistency of decorum that Shakespeare maintains throughout, and that explains by significant breakthroughs of tone whenever necessary, at times with ironical effect. It contrasts to Romeo and Juliet, where the effect can be overwhelming. Richard II seeks to distance us from the pathos as far as possible. We wonder at Richard, we admire his language, but we never suffer with him. Even when he is deposed and subsequently murdered, of all the histories, this is the most controlled and stylized. It is a radically experimental play, questing for the limits of metaphysical lyricism, and brilliantly successful if you accept it on its own rather stringent terms." If Harold Bloom has ever suffered with a fictional character anywhere, then I'm the czar of all the Russias. But from that description, where he can read that exchange, these two people talking about sharing their hearts and then taking them back so they can break them in private, if he can read that scene and call it stringent, say that it's distant, say that it's formal but lacks pathos, then I can tell you with hardly any research almost exactly when and where and performed by who he saw his first Richard II performance as an adult. I can almost triangulate it on that because it's so much with this play depends on performance. And I want to stress that to those of you who are doing ShakeTube but haven't ever seen Richard II on stage. Lukács mentioned that he looked around basically on the vast treasures of the internet for radio dramas, for YouTube clips, that sort of thing, and I'm sure there are plenty. But there's nothing like sitting there in the audience where you can hear the tread of the actors on the floorboards, where you can hear them breathing. There's nothing like that for drawing you into the play, and it will radically. I'll be interested to hear from my ShakeTube compatriots once they finally do get a chance to see Richard II in its entirety, in person. I wonder if it will change their impressions any. What I wouldn't give if this stupid impediment of time and distance weren't a thing. If that somehow weren't a thing. And we had a closet door like in Narnia, we could just go and visit each other. What I wouldn't give to find a performance of Richard II somewhere near one of you, and then all of us just gather and go to see it. And then you do the classic thing that I did so many times in London. Play is over, you go and find some place to get food and perhaps an immoderate amount of wine and talk until morning about what you just saw. Well, someday, maybe the technology will allow that. But in the meantime, we each have to encounter it on its own, and there's it's a tricky thing because it lacks real action, the real guts of some kind of dramatic pathos. It can seem cold. Rereading it this time, I found it even less so, and I'm not even sure that I trust that completely because I know every detail of the history, the biography of the life and times of the actual Richard II. So it's hard not to read this thing as some sort of very shiny gloss. But one way or another, that's Richard II. That is our ShakeTube this week, an admittedly minor history play that's notable mainly because of how beautiful it is. And I think we move on next time to a history play that is not minor. I think we move on next time to Henry V. I'll have to check the videos and see. I'm a little bit unclear on that. I now realize as I'm making this video, but I think Henry V is next. And oh, what a conversation is there! But for now, I'll wrap up and I'll look forward to all of your videos. Thank you, BookTube.